Let me show you a funny little statistical thing about marketing. How many people in this room are, in the next couple of weeks, you're already thinking it's time to buy a new phone? Within a few weeks, you're going to buy a new phone. How many people?
3.
So yeah, it's about 3%. And then how many people in here are going to be buying a new laptop in the next month or so, a new computer laptop? Oh, a little bit more than 3%. We're up to about 5%. How many people are going to buy a new car in the next month to 6 weeks? Oh, look, 3%. How many of you are going to buy a house in the next month to 2 months? Oh, look, it's a little less than 3%, but you're in that realm. How many of you are going to buy new running shoes in the next week or two? New running shoes? Oh, look, 3%. Have you seen a trend here? At any point in time in the market, you can divide the market up like this, and you can say that roughly 3% is buying whatever you're selling. It's basically the way it is. And maybe another 7% are curious. So if we have 1,000 people, then how many people are buying? Yeah, let's call it 100. It's 30 plus 70. We'll call it 100. Here's what's wrong with marketing today. That's who we're trying to get. We're all spending all our money and our effort in our marketing trying to get our fair share of those 100 people. Think about this. Your SEO. When you're trying to get search engine optimization for your website, it's all about the search terms people are using to find you. In other words, people that are already buying. And Google AdWords, same thing. You're buying words that people are using to find you. When people design an ad for a magazine, the radio or television, the ad is designed not to create the market, it's to skim from the market. Does this make sense? Are you with me? Yes. So why this is so important is these people are not great clients because everybody's trying to sell to them. In other words, you're going to have to lower your price. You're going to have to price compete. You're going to have to offer more services. You're going to have to work harder because everyone is going after them. So let's stop it. I want to tell you a little story about the Bushmen. It might seem unrelated. I guarantee you it's not. You see, because one day the Bushmen offered me a chance to go hunting with them. To actually go hunting with them, like hunting. It's like going in a time machine and I get to go and see the way humans hunted for all these years. And so I go hunting with these guys and we're running along through the bush, and after a little while, I realized we have a major problem, and that is that the Bushmen, when they run through the bush, they don't make very much noise at all. I, on the other hand, well, let's put it this way. If I'm on the hunting trip, they're not going to eat today. And so, I'm one of those guys. You could, if I was dropped in the middle of Africa, I can make it work. I know the bush, but I'm not as quiet as these guys. And so I'm like, I have to get as quiet as them. I don't understand how. And you know, one of the things that we have to learn is that when somebody else is getting the result we want, why not learn from them? Take the shortcut. You don't have to do it by yourself. If somebody else is getting the result you want, learn from them. And so I watch them. They're getting the result I want. What are they doing differently? I noticed the fundamental thing they were doing differently is that when they run, they land on the front of their feet. Well, I can't believe I didn't think of this myself. If a child, anybody here have children? If your child wants to sneak around the house, what part of the foot do they walk on? The front of their feet. It's instinctual. Quiet is front. I don't know why I didn't think of it on my own. So now I switch and I'm now running and I'm landing on the front of my feet. And all of a sudden I notice some things. My feet don't make so much noise when they hit the ground. Also, I'm able to pick my spots better because when you're landing on your feet, you're springier. So I could pick the spots. So all around I became silent. In fact, one of the Bushmen turned around, make sure I was still there. It was working. So here I am running along, having a great time. I'm still marveling that I get to do this. And then suddenly I have this huge realization that my knee is not hurting. You see, because in the year 2000, I ran the London Marathon. And I hurt my knee so badly in that marathon that I had to give up running. I was 30 years old. I know a few of you out there have had this experience along with me where you have to start saying goodbye to a few things. Like I used to play ice hockey. I probably still could. But there's a day where you end up saying goodbye to it. And I'm thinking 30 is too young to say goodbye to running. And it was really hard for me. And all of a sudden, I'm running through the bush, and I'm fine. My knee's not hurting. And I started thinking about that. You know, I heard this guy, he was once saying, like, we use the words bad knee, bad shoulder. Do you guys do that here? Bad elbow, right? Well, what's really interesting is if you took your car to the shop because one tire was wearing out faster than the other tire, would you assume you had a bad tire? No. You'd assume there's a problem with the car. But yet when your knee hurts, oh, I have a bad knee. No, there was never a problem with my knee. There was a problem with the way I was running. And now I'm running on the fronts of my feet, and it's like, I'm like, this is totally different. So now I'm running along, and I start thinking about those ridiculous, I don't know, do you guys get them here, those ridiculous looking 5-finger running shoes with the toes? Yes. I mean, that's just crazy stuff. But there's a part of me thinking, maybe there's something to this. Maybe, because these guys are running along either barefoot or in sandals, maybe I should try this barefoot running thing. I mean, it's crazy, but I'm going to give it a try. I go home. I got back to England, actually. And when I got to England, I found a shop that sold them. Have you ever gone into a shop where you want to buy something, but you don't want anybody to know you're buying it? I don't know what you were buying. I was buying running shoes. So I'm buying these running shoes, and I'm like wanting everybody to leave the shop first. Finally, I put the shoes on, and I wear them, and they feel pretty good. And then I ask the woman, the sales girl, I say to her, well, do you know any parks that nobody goes to so I can try them out? She goes, no, you're in England. Everybody goes to the parks. So she goes, just go early. And then she says, but here's the thing. Take it easy. Take it easy your first time out with these. And I'm like, take it easy? What she doesn't understand is that for the 4 or 5 weeks before I'm in her shop, I have climbed and descended Kilimanjaro. I have hiked in the bush 4 hours a day, every day for a month. I am in the very best shape of my life. And she's telling me I got to go take it easy. Whatever. So the next day, I put on my shoes, I get up early, and I go for a run. And I only go 10K. So I do take it easy, because I was doing much longer. I did take it a little bit easy. It turns out 10K is not easy enough. Because the good news was my knee did not hurt at all. No problem. I ran beautifully. The problem was that the next day, I had muscles that I didn't know I owned, and they hurt so badly, I couldn't walk. I mean, there's a muscle that runs up the front of your leg here, this side here. If you are wearing normal shoes, you never use that muscle. And suddenly, when you're landing on the front of your feet, you use that muscle, and it builds. But the first day, it hurts. I mean, it hurt to, just not hurt to walk. I mean, just to touch it, it hurt. And then there's another set of muscles that run on the side. Do you know what I mean? Achilles tendon? You know, there's a set of muscles along the side of the Achilles tendon. When you land on your heels, they don't get worked out. When you land on your toes, those muscles engage to do shock absorption. Because here's how your body was designed. It's so obvious to me now. Your body is designed for the bones to control the structure and the muscles to absorb the shock and the ligaments. Does that make sense? So, does anybody here box? Anybody or did used to box? What's more dangerous? Bare-fisted boxing or big glove boxing? What's more dangerous for the brain?
The big glove.
Big gloves. Way more dangerous for the brain. One of the reasons is because with bare-handed boxing, you can only take so many punches. So you take the punches and you're done. Plus, bare-handed boxing hurts the hand. So that controls a little bit. When you put the big glove on, you can take punch after punch after punch. Go on YouTube and watch Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle and watch. He won that fight by taking more punches than is humanly possible to take. And guess what's going on with his brain? So the same thing is happening with our skeletal system. When you run and you land on your heel, your bones take the shock, your joints take the shock. When you run and land on the front of your feet, your ligaments take the shock and your muscles take the shock. And so as a result, you don't have a bad knee anymore. It changed my entire life. I now run regularly. When I'm at home, I'm lucky enough to live on a beach, so I run on the barefoot. And when I come on a trip like this, I bring my 5-finger running shoes, and I don't care how stupid they look. So here's my question for you. How many of you think right now that you probably need to consider new running shoes? Now, do you understand what's happened? Let's do the math on this. Now, and do you hear people talking? So let's do the math on what's going on. If we had 1,000 people, and we knew 3% of them were getting ready to buy running shoes, then how many people are buying running shoes? 30. And then we know 7% are kind of thinking about new shoes. They're in the market, but they're not buying yet. How many is that? So that means there's about 100 people, we discussed. Now, I have done that story all over the world. And what happens is that I get between 40 and 80% of the audience are going, oh my God, I see that it's different, especially if there's runners in the room. They're in. They come up to me and say, you've saved my life. Yesterday had somebody say, you've just turned my life around because my knee's been bothering me for years and I'm going to change it. I get so many Twitter and Facebook posts from people that send me pictures of their feet. They do it all the time. They do. They do this talk, and a week later they go buy barefoot running shoes and they send me the picture. I have sold countless pairs of them, and never have I been trying to sell a single shoe. Did I sound like I was selling shoes? Was I instead telling an engaging story? Was the story entertaining? Did the story create a sense of credibility that I knew what I was talking about? See, stories sell better than anything ever will. And so when we do this story, we get to a place where we get 40 to 80%. Let's just call it 50%. So how many people is that? How many people is that? 500. But they're 500 different people. They're 500 very different people. They are not price competing already. Do you understand? They're not out looking at your competitors. You converted them in that moment. So they're not even aware of the other products. They're going, I'm telling you, if I went to China and I found somebody who could make me barefoot running shoes and I created the Eric brand running shoes and put them on my website, I would sell them. People would buy them, because if you had a choice of buying from the person who showed you that you needed it and buying from somebody else, who do you buy from? The one who made the market for you. That's where the credibility and the authority is. So a good percentage of these people are probably going to end up buying from me. Here's what also is really interesting. When we go back to the numbers, and we realize that there's these other groups of people, about 30%, 30%, and 30%. These people here, not interested. These people here, unaware. These people here, against. So these people don't even know about your product. These people here, or no, these people know but they're not interested. These people don't even know, and these people are against your product. Who do we want? Who are our best clients?
We don't know.
It's the people who are against.
Oh, yes.
The people who are against are your best clients coming. And here's why. By the way, which camp was I in? With regard to five-finger running shoes, before I ever bought a pair, which group was I in? I was against them. I thought they looked stupid, and I thought they were a gimmick. And now I've probably sold more five-finger running shoes than any single shoe salesman on earth, because I swung the pendulum. What happens is that when somebody is against something and then they become for it, the contrast turns them into a salesperson. I'm going to give you an example. This is tougher to do here in Europe, but I'm going to try it anyway. How many of you, let's see, how many of you have always been a Mac user? Like you only ever use Mac? Okay, so there's a couple. So now, how many of you used to use Windows and now you use a Mac? Okay, now you people who used to use Windows and now use a Mac, isn't it cool to use a machine that never crashes? It's wicked, hey? Now, you guys who have always used Macs, do Macs crash?
A lot.
They do, and he even says a lot. And here's why. Because if you have a Mac and it crashes twice a year or once a month, that's a lot. If you have a Windows machine and you suddenly switch to something that only crashes once a month, you're going, thank God! So here's what's really fascinating is Mac users do not feel compelled to convert other people to use Mac. This is a Mac user coming to a conference where everybody's got their computers out. Mac user walks in, he sees Kurt here using a Windows machine. He walks by and he goes, lesser human. That's how they are. Original Mac users are almost a little arrogant about their Macs. They're not interested in converting you, but they also don't really understand the pain of using Windows. So there's no need for them to convert you. But when somebody switched from Windows to Mac, they walk in and they go, Kurt! You still use Windows? You have to stop immediately. You're a creative guy. You need to know about Keynote. Now, look, let me tell you right now, you'll hate the transition for 2 weeks, but after that 2 weeks is done, you will never go back. Is that what happens? Because those people were once against. They were once not for. And so when you convert the market yourself, there's like a pendulum effect that swings people over. These people here can become really loyal, raving fans. Let's describe the process. You have somebody who is a prospect. In other words, you might want to sell to them one day. Then you convert them to a customer. And then from customer, you can convert them to client. From client, you can convert them to raving fan promoter. The trouble is too many companies are trying to take prospects and move them all the way to raving fan promoter on the first transaction. In other words, they're trying to sell them their very best thing or their very most expensive thing, their best package right now. And what they really want to be doing is realizing that it's easier to take somebody from a non-customer to customer. Oh, look, they've done business with you once. Then you can say, now, do you want to do business on a regular basis? Yes, it's easy. The trust has been built. And then now they're a client. You take such good care of them, they become a raving fan promoter. And these are the ones that do that the most easily. It doesn't really matter how good a job Apple does taking care of their original Apple users. They don't tend to become raving fan promoters of the product in the same way. The ones who converted do. And so the reason that this whole process that we described is so important is that I tell the story about the running shoes and suddenly I expose my message to the rest of the circle. And in this case, what it showed us was that we can get 40, 50, 60, 70% of the people making a new buying decision based on a great story. And they're making that new buying decision with a feeling of realization. I didn't tell them they need to have those running shoes. They sat in the chair and they heard the story and they went, me too. And when they say me too, they're much more likely to buy. Does that make sense?